Alright, so the UFC 310 Pantoja vs. Asakura card just wrapped up, and I'm going to give my immediate reaction to all of the fights on the main card, starting with the title fight, Pantoja vs. Asakura. Now, Pantoja came right out of the gates. As soon as the bell rang for this fight, he ran right at Asakura, cracked him with the knee, cracked him with the left hand, hurt him pretty bad. Now, Asakura recovered, but Pantoja was able to turn it into a takedown. Asakura was able to get back up, and the rest of the round was mostly striking. But Pantoja was outstriking Asakura, and it's not because Asakura looked bad. Asakura looked probably as good as he did at Ryzen. He looked strong, he looked insanely fast, but Pantoja looked even better. This striking is probably the best we've ever seen from Pantoja. He looked super fast, crisp, powerful, accurate. It was just all around great performance by Pantoja. And then as we saw, second round, Pantoja gets the takedown almost right away, jumps right on the back, and then 20-30 seconds go by, he gets the choke. Asakura almost goes out. I believe he got out of there right before he went out cold. But yeah, wow, by far Pantoja's best performance. Now, I think a lot of people might come out of this and say that Asakura was a fraud, but I don't think so. We all know how good Pantoja is on the ground. We know that Asakura is not necessarily a grappler. He was still able to survive some moments with Pantoja on the ground. I think it's just that Pantoja's too good, right? So Asakura might enter the rankings, maybe not. He'll definitely be getting a good ranked opponent after this, but that means that Pantoja has beaten Asakura, who will be still up there in the division, and 9 other of the top 10 flyweights. It's just ridiculous. I'm not sure there's ever been a champion that has had this much dominance this deep into his division, right? So I'm not sure where the UFC goes next. Can't give it to Royval. Pantoja's dominated him twice. Can't give it to Moreno. Pantoja's beaten him 3 times. I'm really not sure where they're going to go with this, but that's a problem that they're going to have to look into. But the main takeaway from the main event, Pantoja looks amazing, even at his age, to look that good. I believe he might have broken the 35, 36-year-old curse. He looked amazing in that fight. He didn't look old at all. By far the best he's ever looked. Alright, then let's get into Shavkat versus Garry. Probably the most disappointing fight on the card. Probably the most disappointing performance from Shavkat. He did win this fight. He looked alright, but this isn't the Shavkat that we expected, just going after Garry. But I'm surprised because when he did, he came extremely close to landing those spinning kicks. He landed a few good right hands. It looked like when he was going for knees to the body, he was landing those. But he did find a strategy of just holding Garry against the fence. That was something that I thought about coming into this fight. Shavkat looks bigger, stronger in every way, and you could tell that he was, but he wasn't using that to really try to dominate Garry. Physically, he was just using it to hold him up against the fence. And Garry was doing a great job of defending the takedowns, but there wasn't much that he could do to get away from that clinch position on the cage. Honestly, pretty boring fight. Pretty uneventful. Not much happened. I think, yeah, clear Shavkat victory. I scored rounds 1, 2, and 4 for Shavkat, mostly off of, in those rounds, the few strikes that did happen were from Shavkat, and by far the bigger ones. I gave rounds 2 and 5 to Garry for his leg kicks, mostly his kicking. Almost landed a couple good head kicks. But I think the main takeaway from this is that Bilal has to be a massive favorite against Shavkat, and if he ever does fight Garry, a massive favorite against Garry too. Right, because Shavkat showed nothing to tell us that he's going to beat Bilal. We know he's not going to beat Bilal by holding him up against the cage. That's Bilal's own game. He's not going to be beaten at that. Shavkat's big, he's strong, but I don't believe that he's bigger and stronger than Bilal. I don't think there's a better wrestler in the division than Bilal. I think the only way that Shavkat finishes Bilal is by submission. The only way he can beat Bilal is with a submission or by knocking him out. And if you can't knock out or submit Ian Garry, chances are you're not going to knock out or submit Bilal, right? Ian Garry did have a good moment in round 4 or 5, I believe. I forget which one exactly, but he did take Shavkat's back. I believe it was around 5. He took Shavkat's back, took him down, and he was able to get a body lock, really good one. He threatened with the rear naked choke. It looked like it was going to be in, but Shavkat was able to spin out of it, kind of reverse the position. And then Ian Garry, when he should have been standing up and going for the finish, he kept that body lock. He kept his legs sealed. He kept Shavkat in, and he kept himself down, which I thought was ridiculous from him. But yeah, disappointing fight. Shavkat wins, but he loses his 100% finish rate, and I think he loses a lot of respect, or at least he loses a lot of what people thought he was, right? Before this fight, people probably would say he's finishing Bilal. I doubt many people are going to say that Shavkat finishes Bilal now. Alright, and then on to Volkov versus Gane, another weird one. Fight was kind of boring, but it was good to see heavyweights grappling, especially at the top level. We don't see that very often. And both of these guys actually looked very much improved on the ground, right? I don't think this is the same Volkov that Tom Aspinall submitted easily. This definitely isn't the same Gane that got out-wrestled by Francis Ngannou. So it was kind of fun to see, but the main takeaway from this fight, massive robbery, maybe the biggest robbery of the year, at least the most high-profile big robbery of the year. I scored it pretty clearly. Volkov winning by rounds 2 and 3. 2 of the judges gave Ciryl Gane round 2, which I just don't see how. I don't remember a single really significant strike that Gane landed that hurt Volkov at all. Volkov was pretty much dominating every wrestling sequence. He was landing better kicks. He was landing kicks to the body. He was landing some straight punches. Gane landed a little bit. He had a little bit of success on the ground, but Volkov just outperformed him everywhere. Now, it was close, but it was clear. Close but clear is still a robbery. And we saw Dana go up and talk to Volkov. I'm not sure what he said. We saw Gane walking out the cage like he was angry, even though he was gifted the decision. Obviously, he's not going to say that in his speech, but even he said, I'm not happy with that fight. It was just a mess. Dana went to talk to Volkov. What I would recommend, give Volkov the next shot, right? The UFC makes the calls. They can come out and say, we think Volkov won that fight, even though he's technically coming off a loss. Let's give him Tom Aspinall, regardless of whether Tom Aspinall fights John Jones. Either way, Volkov should be next, right? You can't give Ciryl Gane to Tom Aspinall. Coming off that performance, it's just ridiculous. Alright, next we got Bryce Mitchell versus Kron Gracie. Man, this was embarrassing from Kron Gracie. I hope he's cut by Monday. If he's not, the UFC is just hanging on to him because of his name, right? Kron Gracie is a disgrace to the sport. He looks uninterested. He looks like he thinks he's above this, which is ridiculous because he may be the worst fighter on the current roster. He had nothing on the feet and even less on the ground. If you're this great jiu-jitsu guy and you're taken down, that should be your time to work, not your time to lock up full guard, grab some underhooks and just lay there, right? Just look away like you don't want to be there. It's disgusting. But third round, I believe. And the thing is, Bryce Mitchell kept going for the takedowns. He wasn't scared. Kron Gracie came close on one armbar and just gave up after that, just like he had given up before the fight, it seems. It's really bad to see. But Bryce Mitchell did about as good as you could expect against this kind of opponent. Third round, nasty slam, 2 nasty elbows, puts Kron Gracie out pretty bad. And, yep, weird fight, weird matchup, but it went the way that it should have went. So let's just hope that gets Kron Gracie out of here. And then Doo Ho Choi versus Nate the Train. Decent fight. A little disappointing considering what some people thought it was going to be. But I think the reason it wasn't as exciting as people thought is because Nate the Train really had nothing for Doo Ho Choi. Alright, Doo Choi dominated him in the striking, but more so in the wrestling, the grappling, and then ended up finishing him with some pretty light elbows. But he did have a bit of a almost crucifix position over him. There's no way Nate Landwehr was going to win that fight, so I'm okay with the stoppage. Kind of weird though. But Doo Choi did look really good. Maybe the best performance outside from Pantoja on this main card. Let's get him a ranked opponent and see how he can do. He does have a really fun fight style. He looks good. Let's keep that momentum going for him. And then overall thoughts, a little disappointed with the card. The main event was fun while it lasted. Maybe the best fight on the card, or on the main card, to be honest. The prelims were really good. I may make a video breaking that stuff down. But yeah, a bit of a disappointing card, but it is what it is. They can't all be great ones. Thanks for watching if you got this far. If you like, leave a like, subscribe. I'll be making a lot more content. Thanks for watching. Have a good night, guys.